Hello.
Hello, sir.
All right. So today we don't have much participants. All right. Let's quickly go through the last class and do some couple of exercises. Yeah. So we did 6 lecture 6 higher order procedures, which was about map filter and reduce. Yeah. Folder. Yeah, so another exercise which I wanted to say is that can you try to do the fold L also? What should be the fold L procedure? So today we are only 19 people. What happens? Suddenly there is a big drop. It's 20. Yeah, so what should be the fold L procedure? Can you unmute your mic and answer me? What should be fold L?
It should be like folding from left, like in the previous folder. For the last element of the list, we actually combined with the value v.
Yeah.
Here, combine the value v with the first element, and then each time we are actually like storing the result also in v. Like the
Okay, so fold L procedure. Let's understand fold R procedure, which is that I have the fold R function takes 3 arguments: a function, a value v, and a list. Yeah, and what does it do? It places the value v at the end of the list, and then applies the last element and the value v with the function. That gives you a value. That and the second last element, you apply the function again, you get a value. That value and the third last element, you apply the function and so on. Yeah. So it's a recursive procedure where I will first fold R of FVXS will be the first element of the list, char f of char xs, comma, fold R of f, v, and cadre of xs. Did you get that? So what I was saying is that fold L of f, v, and xs should be same as f of char xs and fold. So this should be fold R of f, v, and cadre of xs. Yeah, and similarly you will be able to write a fold L function also. Okay, so one exercise is to write the fold L function. Okay, and okay, so we have done most of lecture 6. Okay. Yeah. So, and yeah, can somebody remind me of this good programming practices?
Yes, sir. I can try to summarize.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, so the lecture was in two parts. First, there were good programming practices, and the other part was trees, about trees, introduction. So, first part was good programming practices. In
Uh-huh.
that, there were main 5 points discussed, which were code design, debugging, documentation, evaluation and verification, and types and tools for debugging.
Okay.
Then in the design point, there were 3 points mentioned, which were what language, what is the natural way to group information, that is uh, emphasis on data structures. Then how can we break up the computation into modules, which were procedural modules, and then interfaces between data structure and procedural modules.
Mm-hmm.
Then the second part, documentation, talks about why, like how we, when we code something and we look at it back after few months or after a certain time, we don't remember why certain choices were made and what were the input output behaviors of certain modules. So it was discussed that we should document this, as well as expected number and type of arguments and list of constraints at each stage of the code.
Mm-hmm.
Then in the debugging errors, there were many debugging, it was explained through examples,
Mm-hmm.
and there were debugging tools mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Then moving on to trees. In the trees, it was mentioned that each level of tree is a list, basically, and elements are chars, and char may contain an element or it may contain a branch. And
Mm-hmm.
then there was a generalized procedure. How can we, like, a generalized module of procedure on trees was discussed
Mm-hmm.
in the end.
Generalized map function. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You have any doubts in this trees and things like that? Any doubts? Okay. So if there is no doubt, let's try to do a function. Okay. So can everybody try to code this function? So what should it's like this concat. It's the same concat which I gave in the explanation. If I gave you a list of list, yeah, it's a list of list. So if I say concat of list, then what should it do? It should concatenate all the lists. So it should be 3, 4, and 5. Can you try to write this function concat? You take your time, 5 minutes, and try to write this function concat. You will do it? Hello?
Yes, sir, we are trying.
Okay, all right.
Sir, I'm done.
You are done? 1 second. I'll let others also finish it.
Yes, sir, I'm also done.
You're also done? Shall I wait or we go to some of the solutions? Are you still trying? Anybody is trying now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, it's almost done. We are on the verge
Yes.
of completing.
All right. Then we will wait. What about now? Hello. Are you stuck in some problem? If you are stuck, let's try to debug it. I will also join. Yuvraj? No, who was Siddharth? Hello.
Yes, sir. It's giving me some errors, so we can maybe start discussing.
All right. Devyani, can we show me your solution? Okay. All right. So what? Okay. You have used append. Okay. And append you have written yourself. Let's, can you just move it to the, yeah. Yeah. So your first procedure is append. So append takes two lists, list one and list two. And if the first list is null, then you return the empty list. You should return the list two, no? Hello? If the, no, there is something wrong. If the list one is null, you should return the second list. Append
So if
should
the second
return.
list is null, I can return the first one.
The second list is, if the first list is null, then you return the second list. Otherwise,
No, so the first list is decreasing in size. So if the first list becomes null, then it should.
no. If the first list is null, you return the second list, list two. That's all. Yeah, that's what append should return. No, if the first list is list one, the first list is null, then you return the second list, list two. Otherwise, the first list is not null, in which case you counts the first of the list and you call the append operation on color of the first list and the second list. That is correct. Let's try to make that. Let's try append append. Let's try that append once in the REPL. No. You should put 3 P's.
Oh.
Okay. Okay. So that gives you 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So the idea is very simple. If the first list is null, we return the second list. And otherwise, we take the first element of the first list and call the append on this on the rest of the first list and the second list. Now, what does concat list do? Concat list takes, if the list is empty, then you return the empty list. Otherwise, you take the append on, you call append on the first of the list and concat on the second list. So, I mean, the rest of the list. Okay, that's also correct. All right, very good. Everybody understands the solution?
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
Sir, here was there any advantage in like divisioning append and concat?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't divide into append, it's not very easy to do this problem at all. Otherwise, you will have to do much more case analysis. If we don't have an append function, then if you try to do both the append and concat together, then you will have to carry around 3 things. Yeah, you can roll these 2 functions into one function. That's possible. But then it will
Yes,
be
sir. I
extremely
wrote it in terms of one function only.
Yeah, then it will be extremely complicated because you have so many cases to do.
No, sir, it looks simple.
Okay, then let's see your solution. Okay, define concat list 1, list 2. Can you pretty print this? Yeah, if null, list 2 below becomes, yeah.
So I think that's the append function he's written.
Pardon? Otherwise? No. Siddharth, this is just the append function. What I asked is something else. Hello?
Okay, sir. So what? It's like
So
what-
the question which I gave had not just two lists, it had more than two lists. It was a list of lists.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I understood the question wrong.
Yeah. All right, Jared, let's see your solution.
Sir, I actually have a doubt in that.
Yeah.
Sir, is there a difference? Because in my code it was making a difference. For example, here in Siddharth's screen,
Yeah.
when in the first if the if is true, then he returns list 2, right?
Yeah.
So what if I do return list 2 within brackets?
If you just, then it will create a problem which will, because list 2 is not a function. If you put something in brackets, it's a function application. Okay.
Sir, isn't it just an just an expression?
No, it's not an expression. Anything which is in brackets is a function application. An expression is, every expression has the form E1, E2, E3 up to EK. Yeah. And there are only so many expressions. If it's an expression, then lambda is an expression. These are all expressions. So if you just put something in within the bracket, you look at the first word. If the first word is not a keyword of the language, then it is meant to be a function application.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Got it.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
So can I stop sharing?
Pardon?
Sir, can I stop sharing?
Yeah. Jared? Yeah. Concat lambda, the first list is, if the list is null, you return the empty list. Otherwise, you append care of the list and concat care of the list. All right, that's very good. Okay, that's exactly the same solution as nice. Okay, thanks, Jared. Okay, now let's do one more example, one more exercise in which we will learn something. So I want to write reverse of 3, 4 will be.
Sir, I have a doubt. Okay.
Yeah.
Sir, what is the difference between using quote and list?
Nothing. It's just this, if I just use quote, backquote is a special mechanism. So I told you that
The thing is, for the output of this concat function,
Yeah.
I am different result for different. Like if I'm using list for as a parameter for the list, I'm getting the appropriate answer. But when I'm using this quote, I'm getting a different answer. Like, but the function is.
Are you using Dr. Racket or MIT
No,
scheme?
I am just using that.
MIT scheme.
Yeah, MIT scheme.
Yeah, I don't know why you're getting different answers. Let me explain. The quote we will learn in the next lecture. We will learn what is quote. So what is that? In the scheme, in Lisp, you can go from program to data and back. Yeah, you can take a program and convert it to data, and take a data and convert it to program. So for instance, if I have this is a program, char of some list. Okay. Now what I can do is that I can put a quote, I can input it as a quote function, and it will convert it to a list. So this is a list actually. And this list I can manipulate using char and cadder and all these functions. Yeah, I can reverse it, all kinds of things. Now, so therefore, when this symbol backquote is just an abbreviation for that. So if I say backquote 1, it just converts it to data. So it becomes a list which contains 1. And on the other hand, list is a constructor function for list. So if I say list 1, 2, 3, 4, it creates a list out of these 4 elements. Okay. Yeah. Now I don't know why this thing behaves differently. We'll have to find it out.
If you can see the chat box, you can see that
Yeah.
like I'm using the same concat function. Okay.
Can you share your screen?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. 1 second. Let me stop my screen sharing. Yeah. Yeah. If not list.
So if
Yeah.
you
So there you are creating a new list. Yeah. When you say list with the empty thing, you are creating a new list. Okay. And append char of list and concat cadder of list. Yeah, that's fine.
yeah, but if you see my output, if you're able to see this output on the screen,
Yeah.
you can see that like when I'm calling this concat function on a list of 1 to list of 3, I'm getting a list of 1, 2, 3, which is expected.
Yeah. Show me where it is.
Are you able to see this?
Yeah.
Yeah, this one.
Concat of, oh, no. There you are putting too many quotes. You just put 1 quote in the beginning only. Okay. Concat.
Oh, you mean this inside quote is not required?
Not required. Yeah. You just put concat quote and then the rest.
Okay.
Try that.
That itself is a list, right? But
Yeah. Concat quote. Then 1, 2, and 3. Yeah. So now it's working fine. All done. Okay. So yeah. So I was asking this function reverse 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you try to write this function? It's not very hard. Yeah, everybody. So it basically reverses the list.
we are not able to see your screen.
Ah, sorry. So this is the function reverse 1, 2, 3, 4 gives you back 4, 3, 2, 1.
Sir, I've done it.
Done it? Okay, just wait. Yeah. So you are doing it from elementary things. Only char and cadre you are using now. And
Yes, sir.
cons. And
Yes, sir.
cons. Okay, just wait. Let others also finish it. And can you also try to write a procedure which will create a huge list? Let's say a list which contains 10,000 elements, 1 to 10,000. Can you do that? Get my question?
Yes, sir. Just a sequence of 1 through 10,000.
Yeah, create list. So create, let's say 10,000. Will give me that list which contains 1, 2, 3, etc. Okay.
Yes, sir. Done, sir.
Done. Okay. The create list also. Can you do the create list also?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So it should start from 1 or 0. Only
Yeah,
positive
anything
numbers.
is fine. Anything is fine. Start with 1 or start with 0. Anything is fine.
Positive numbers.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Done.
Okay. You want more time? If anybody wants more time? Devani, are you done?
Yes, sir.
What about others?
Yes, sir.
Done. Okay, so who was the first one who got the answer? Can you show me your screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I'll do that.
Okay, Siddharth. Stop share. Yeah. Okay. So your reverse is define reverse.
Reverse.
L. Yes. If null L, then you return nil. Otherwise, that const has to be, yeah, nil has to be below null. Yeah. Just to be pretty printing. If null L, then you return L. Otherwise, you cons cadr of L and char of L. All right, very good. Okay, that's correct, because if you want to reverse the list, you take the first element, reverse the rest of the list. There is something wrong now.
My solution is little different.
Yeah, so Siddharth, does it work well? Yeah. No, there is something wrong with your code, which is that first of all, you are not reversing the rest of the list. You are not reversing cadr of L. You get my point?
Yes, sir. Is my terminal visible? As in,
Yeah, yeah.
sir, so it's happening, no?
So
I don't know.
actually, there's a built-in function also.
Yeah, can you change the name reverse of L to something else? Reverse prime or reverse, yeah, reverse list, yeah. You have to compile.
Ah.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
you see. There are two problems with your code. One is that the consing won't work, because when you want to get a list, the first element has to be an item and the second element has to be a list. So when you take an L, the first element is, you take the first element, char of L is an element, cadr of L is a list. And when you cons a list with a element, you will get a pair, you won't get a list, because a list is always an item followed by a list. A pair which contains the first element is an item, second element is a list.
Okay.
Yeah. And so second problem with your code is that you're not reversing the list on cadr. You're not recursively calling. So if you just call recursively cadr there, reverse list of cadr of L, solve, yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, I got it.
Okay, somebody else? Siddharth? Dada Siddharth?
Sir, I I actually had the same problem as Siddharth.
Okay, so the point is that some of you are still confused about what is a pair and what is a list and what is cons. Okay. All right. So let me just explain this thing before we go into that. So when I take two elements, okay, when I cons 1 and 2, what I get is a pair. Okay, it's a pair. It contains two cells. The first cell contains 1, second cell contains 2. And if I cons, let's say 1, 2, 1, 2 with cons of 1 and 2, what will I get? I get a, yeah, I mean, it's more complicated to explain. Because in this case, what happens is that what you have is a list which contains the first element is 1 and the second element is a pair. Okay.
It's 11 o'clock.
List is always of this form: 1, cons of 1 and cons of 2 and nil. Okay, so list is always this form. It contains it's a list of cons cells. It's a list of cons cells where the first element is a list, first element is an item, and second element is a list. And the empty list is called nil. All right. So when I say cons of 1 and 1, 2, I'll get a list 1, 1, 2. Okay. But if I do cons of 1, 2 and 1, what will I get? I get a pair, okay, which contains the first element 1, 2 and the second element 1. Okay. So you have to understand this subtle difference between char and cadr. I mean, this is a bit confusing for everybody. I agree. So you have to see them as the cons as you have to think of them as a pair as a two element cell. Okay, there are two positions. When you create a linked list, you have an item and then you have a pointer. Yeah. Now that pointer thing follows to another cell which contains an item and a pointer and so on. That is how you build list. Now that two element thing is what you call a pair. Okay, we don't have a notion of pointers. That's why we call them as a pair. Is it clear to everybody what is going on? Is it better at least? Hello.
What is what
Pardon?
is happening in that example? Cons one, then cons one of two, one and two.
Yeah. The last two sentences.
No, sir. The hello.
Hello. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So
your screen is not.
yeah, you have pairs and you have lists. Okay, you have lists and pairs. Pairs, how do you make pairs? You cons 1 and 2, some element x and y, and you will get a pair called x dot y. Okay, that's what a pair is. How do you create lists? Lists are sequences of pairs of the form x, z, and nil. Okay, this is how lists are. Okay, so how do you create a list? How do you create a list? So if I have, let's say, if I take cons of 1 and list 1, 2, okay, I can already see that this is same as cons of 1 and what is the list 1, 2? List 1, 2 is nothing but
We
One.
can't see the screen.
I can't see the screen. Oh, damn it.
Yes, sir.
So what were you seeing so far? Okay. Okay, so you have pairs. Pairs are of the form cons xy is a pair, x dot y. So if I say cons of 1 and 2, it will give me 1, 2. But if I take cons of a particular thing called 1 and nil, it will give me a list. Okay, because there is a special thing called empty list. So that's special. Okay, it's this thing. This thing is called empty list or just list constructor. These are called empty list. If I create a pair which contains the first element an item and second element is a list, in particular empty list, I'll get a list. So cons and empty list, I'll get the list which contains 1. Now if I take this list, so if I take this thing and append my rule for forming lists are anything which contains an item followed by a list, a cons pair which contains an item and a list is a list. Okay, so if I cons of 2 and then if I take this list which I just created 1, then I'll get a list which contains 2 and 1. But on the other hand, if I take 2 and let's say if I take cons of 2, list contains which 2 and 1, what will I get? What will I get? Can somebody answer me?
So you will get a list which contains list of 2 and list of 1.
List which contains list of 2 and
List of 1.
list of 1 is not correct. It will get 1. Okay, why? Because you are taking this list. So the form of this thing is that, so if I take this one, this is an item and this is a list. So whenever I cons an item with a list, I'll get a list which contains the item as the first element. So this one becomes the first element, 2, and then this one becomes an element of the list, 1. Is that clear, what I just said?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Let's do some more examples. So if I have 1, 2, 4, what will I get?
List of 1, 2, and then 4.
As a pair. Okay, you get list of 1, 2, and 4 as a pair. Okay, because it's not a list, because the last element is not a list. 4 is not a list. That's why it's a pair. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now, yeah, so let's go back to that's the reason why you are, when you write reverse, when I write define reverse rev of, let's say, x's, I can't just cons of reverse of cadre of x's and char of x's. That won't work because now I'm not creating a list. So if I do,
So cons expects 2 arguments.
yeah. Cons of reverse of cadre of x's. Yeah.
So the nil condition.
Yeah. That's the reason. If the null of x's, then you return nil.
So the bracket before cons.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, so in this case, what I'll get is that I'll get a reverse list of pairs because I'm consing a list with an item all the time. So I'll get an item and a pair. Yeah, so I'll just get a list of pairs. So I won't get that. So now how do I get a reverse? Can somebody done it? Devyani, have you done it?
Sir, I used append function. I was unable to use cons.
Yeah, but yeah. So can you do? Yeah, can you show your solution?
Yes, sir. So if you could show stuff.
Yeah. So my reverse list will be null list. If it is null, you return nil. Otherwise, you append my reverse of cadre of list and list of char of list. Yeah. Okay, that's correct. Okay, that is correct. So that is a way to do it also. But the point is that this procedure will take time of n square. Okay. And can you find out why it will, can we try to write the steps of your procedure? So if I have to reverse, let's say 10 to 1, yeah, if I have reverse, let's look at your append procedure. How much time append takes?
So sum of the list lengths.
It's not sum of the list. Is it sum of the list lengths? Yes, it is. It is not sum of the list lengths, to be precise.
Sum
It
of
is
the
just sum
first.
of the first list, length of the first list. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Is everybody clear? Can you show your append list, append? Then we will be able to understand. So her append function, if the first list is empty, then you return the second list. Otherwise, you take the first element and call append on the second list. Append on the cutter of the first list and second list. So the append function will take, if you have two lists of length x and y, then you will take exactly x many calls to append function to return the answer. Yeah. So the length of the first list is the length of the running time of that procedure for append. So therefore, if I do my reverse of a list, how much time will it take?
So sum of the decreasing lengths of the list.
Yeah,
So that's
sum of
one.
the decreasing length of the list. So if I am calling my reverse on, let's say, a list of length 10, it will take 10 plus 9 plus 8 plus up to?
Yes, sir.
Up to 1.
1.
Yeah. So, and that is, so if I'm calling my reverse on a list of length 10, it will take all of n square steps, because n into n minus 1 by 2, that many steps it will take. So this function is actually a quadratic procedure. It will take O of n square. Yeah. So let's try to reverse your large list with my reverse. Now, first of all, you are taking a large list with random numbers.
Yes, sir.
It would have been better if we made it with just the n.
So is that fine?
Yeah, that's fine. So let's see your large list first. Large list of 10,000. Yeah. Okay. So now let's reverse that list.
Oh.
So it's going to take a long time, because how many steps is it going to take?
10 to the power of 8.
10 to the power of 8 steps. Yeah. So if we now we created a list of 10,000 elements. So if we go to create 100,000 elements, then it's going to take some time, because yeah, let's try that 100,000 elements.
Underscore in my reverse.
Okay, so that's taking significant amount of time. So therefore, this so quadratic functions are really bad, because we can't. I mean, they will take a awfully long time than linear functions. So the question is, how do we write reverse in linear time? Okay, so we don't have time today. So in the next class, we will see reverse in linear time. But let me give you a hint. Yeah, I'll share my screen now. Let me give you a hint. Okay, and you guys try, okay, to reverse the list. So if I want to reverse a list, let's imagine I want to reverse a list. So I'm going to take a reverse rev helper. Okay, what does it do? It's not just taking two lists. It takes two lists, x and x, x's and rx's. Okay, reverse x's. Okay, all right. And what does it do? In the next step, it calls reverse helper with cadder of x's and cons of char of x's and reverse of x's. What does it do? It takes reverse helper. What does it do? I'm always calling with two lists. Reverse helper function I'm calling with two lists. Okay, I have the first list x's and the second list rx's. What does it do? It takes the first element of rx's and puts it in the front of it. Takes the first element of x's, puts it in front of rx's. Okay, so that's what is happening with cons of char x's and rx's, char of x's and rx's. All right, so with this hint, can you try to do reverse? So with the reverse helper, you should be able to do reverse. Reverse is nothing but reverse helper with x's and empty list. Okay, so try
So
to.
we should not use append.
No, you should not use append. If you use append, you will get a quadratic time. Okay, so try to find out how this works and try to code and start a discussion piazza. Okay, what is the running time? Okay, so this function, I'll just copy paste it in piazza. All right. Anything else? So let's finish off the class. How is every other class going? All the other classes are going. Hello.
Good, sir.
It's going fine. So suddenly, okay, then we'll meet next week. So for the next week, can you read? Oh, we didn't look at the picture language. Did anybody look at the picture language?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We saw the lecture.
And but did you execute it in your machine?
Yes.
No, sir.
No. Yeah, all right, that's fine. I mean, there are more important things. Okay, so for the next class, you read lecture 9. That's one. And yeah, and we will discuss. So next week we can have also a quiz. But the problem with the first quiz is that how do I tell you guys your marks, because I don't want to make it public for everybody. You have any suggestions? Who is your class rep now? Siddharth, no?
Yes, sir.
So you come up with a better solution. Maybe I can share it with somebody, and then you can everybody can ask them.
Sir, can we have a Google Classroom of this course? Because what generally teachers do is they assign a assignment on Google Classroom and then give us marks on that. So that is private.
Okay. In Piazza also, it should be possible, no?
Sir, I'll search that what is possible on Piazza then.
Yeah, all right. Okay, then. Thanks. Thanks, everybody. See you next week.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Yeah,
you, sir.
bye. So do this this reverse function, all right?
Yes, sir.
All right, bye.